Hey there, Prairie Plant Girl here. So it's that time of the month again when I like to take you around and show you some of the highlights of what's going on in my yard in the past month. So I thought we would start here in the front yard because I have a few pots that I'm really happy with, and I have one thing that I've been waiting for probably 5 years now to happen, and it finally happened this year. And those are all in the front yard. So the first thing I wanted to show you is this pot here and the beautiful combination of it. I'm loving the Ipomia, this dark Ipomia here. This is a white petunia that I grew from seed. And when you grow petunias from seed, they don't always come true as to the variety that you took the seed from. And these came off of a shock vein, pink shock vein, something like that. And they're this beautiful white color with like almost a green yellow center. I'm loving them. And then I have this canna in the middle, which will be orange. And I have a couple of coleus in here as well that I overwintered and took cuttings on last year. And I don't even know if there's anything else. Oh, there's a white verbena in here. So it's really packed full, but it's filling in really nice, especially now that the warm weather has arrived. And it's looking beautiful. Here's a quick overview of the rest of the yard. You can see the grasses that I divided. They're looking a little rough. I haven't always been good about getting out and watering them, but they're catching up to the rest. They're growing. And my viburnums are almost done blooming at the front here, but the spireas at the back, sorry, these are spirea, and the spireas at the back are still in their pink glory there. I have some liatris coming into bloom. That's the purpley blooms in the front there, and the prairie coneflower is the yellow plants you see. Things are looking really good. And I have a little bit of milkweed, that's the orange flower there. So things are definitely coming along out front here. So let's see a couple more pots. I also have matching planters at the front of my house outside my garage doors. And this is another combination that I'm really happy with this year. So again, that same petunia, I had several of these that came out as this white with this kind of yellowy green throat, loving it. This is Caroline sweet potato vine in mahogany. This is the reggae red, I think it's called, dahlia that I grew from seed. And it's just full of blooms, looking beautiful. I do have a little bit of bacopa that I grew from seed down here. It's just barely poking out, probably wasn't necessary. And I have a coleus in here that again, from cuttings, probably not necessary because you can't really see it. There's a canna, this is a new canna that I purchased this year. I think it's called Rosé. So this one hasn't started to bloom. And I threw a little impatiens in here just to see what would happen. Oh, and there's some white verbena. And then the matching one on the other side. Now they don't totally match, even though they're planted exactly the same. So there's this one being overtaken by that petunia. And just a quick pan. That one looks very different. So you can see it's looking quite a bit different, but still beautiful in its own way. The sunny reggae dahlia is a little bit behind, but it's starting to have some blooms come out. The coleus is actually trying to make its way out of the petunia in this one. Sweet potato vine holding its own, and this canna is actually trying to bloom here, and it looks like it's going to be just a gorgeous color. I cannot wait to see it. Just said rosé or something like that on the tags, so really excited to see how that looks. You can't even find the bacopa in this one. But these impatiens, even in a super full sun area, they're getting enough shade from these other plants, I think, that they're doing all right. So it was a little experiment, and I grew those from seed as well. Those are from some saved seed I had. There's the two pots kind of together there. And here's a quick little oopsie that I did is I always fill my watering cans after I'm done using them so they don't blow away. And I wasn't thinking in this heat wave we just had, I grabbed a watering can and was watering here, and I kind of fried this dahlia a little bit, but it'll recover. And the same with, I think, down on the bottom of the petunia got hit a bit there. But luckily wasn't too badly damaged. They'll recover. That's looking quite nice too. But here is what I'm really excited about. I planted this yucca years ago. I think this is an Adam's needle yucca, and it's planted up against the house, so even though it's not really supposed to be super hardy in my area, it does well here. I've been growing it for years. It's been starting to put out pups, So there's a few little babies coming off of it. This year it bloomed, and the blooms seem to open at night. So I'll show you a shot of that in the evening when they're open, but they're beautiful and they have a really nice scent as well. So if you're in Saskatchewan, Canada, and looking for something that's very drought tolerant, kind of architectural and more interesting looking, maybe try one of these Adam's Needle Yucca if you have a more protected area. These are technically, I think, zone 4 to 8, which some of us are in now. These leaves are sharp, so you have to be very careful about where you put it so they don't get you. So let's go to the backyard now. Were you waiting for me? Yeah. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Just a quick look around. Looking a lot fuller than it did last time. So right here, this is one of the ball dahlias that I purchased as just tubers from Costco in a bag, just a mixed bag, and I love this. I have no idea the variety because they're just a mix, but absolutely gorgeous. Very happy with that, looking great. The rest haven't started to bloom yet, but if they're half that pretty, I'll be very happy. A couple more plants that I'm really happy with are here in the backyard, and one is this gorgeous clematis. This is, what is it, Royal Cascade, I believe. It's just beautiful. And if you look at the back side of the leaves, they have white striping on them. So even when they're kind of more upright on the trellis, they still have a beautiful interest. And when they're pointing out at you, even better. So I can't wait. I just planted this last year. So as this gets to be a bigger and stronger root, this whole trellis should be filled. And this is going to be so nice. I'm so excited for it. And right beside it is this hanging basket I just kind of threw together some of my extra plants in and wasn't really too excited about it. And I'm loving it. This double yellow begonia. And then I have, what is this one called? Let's see if I have the tag in here. It's like Dancing Lady or something, I think. This begonia here, it's a hanging, trailing begonia. Beautiful. And then just some bacopa that I grew from seed. So I started the begonias in the inside from tubers, and then these are the bacopa that I started from seed. And then there's actually some sweet pea. I think this was called, is it Cupid? Something like that. And it has a variegated leaf. I'm not sure it's supposed to. There's just a couple in here, and they all do. And it's just supposed to be a short little sweet pea. They haven't started to bloom yet, but I'm really happy with how this looks. And the bright yellow begonias next to those deep purple clematis really making me happy when I look this way. These hanging baskets, on the other hand, I did 3 of these and I did them in a video, and I was really looking forward to them. But this double blue petunia seems to really want to be an upright petunia. I've never had a petunia that wants to be so upright before, so it's not coming over the sides. The lobelia is filling in nice and coming up for me, but the petunias, even these they're trying to come up, but they're too heavy, I think, hanging off the ends here. But these are so upright, they're just not filling in. And then they're covering up the verbena that I put in here because I expected these petunias to come down more and the verbena would shine in the middle and be kind of a white purple kind of look here. It's just not happening. The delphiniums, on the other hand, gorgeous. You'll see over here my cherry trees. So this is the Juliet cherry tree that the University of Saskatchewan developed. And over here is Romeo. Juliet didn't have a lot of cherries on her this year. We got a real cold snap right when the blooms were at their peak need of pollination. There was about a dozen or so, and they weren't even ripe yet. Had a few more weeks to go, and the birds came in and they've been eating them right on the tree, leaving the stems and the pits on the tree. Very disappointed in that, so I decided to net Romeo because Romeo has more cherries on him. He'll be probably another 3 weeks or so before the cherries are ripe, and I would really like to be able to get some of them. So Not the prettiest feature in my yard these days, but you do what you got to do to get your fruit on your trees. So that's what it looks like back here right now. The heat is really bringing out the flowers, and I'm loving this little area out here that I developed a few years ago. Many of these flowers here I have grown from seed or started from bulbs and tubers and things inside and planted out here. A few, some of them perennials, I have purchased as plants, but I mean, it's just looking beautiful. So this is a Maltese cross, some cosmos, bachelor's buttons. They actually just put themselves here. Once you have some, if you let them go to seed, you'll always have some. This is yarrow, I think it's called summer berries mix. So there's a few different shades of pinks in there. There's some poppies back there. There's a clematis on the side of the shed there. I think you can maybe see some purple blooms. There's some Rebecca just about to come in to full flower here. This is Prairie Sun, I think. And what else? I have the dianthus, these frilly things right here. Lots of beautiful things back here. One more noteworthy flower pot before we move on to the vegetable garden, and that's this. And there's actually two. You can see another one right behind me. I am loving these. Again, I wasn't really sure. These petunias, when I purchased these petunias, and when I purchased them, they had these real sunset shades to them. Very excited about them. Only reason I purchased them is because they had these gorgeous sunset shades. And as they sat in their trays waiting to get planted out, they started to turn almost like a hot pink color. And you can kind of see it in some of them. But I think it had to do something with the watering or drying. I have no idea if the lighting was just different, what it was. So I wasn't super excited when I planted them out. But this was the pot I had them planned for, so I put them in here. And they've gone back. They're looking gorgeous as it's heated up. I have this, I also purchased this verbena, beautiful multicolor. I love verbena because the blooms are all just kind of change colors as they age. This is Bacopa that I grew from seed, and look at how nicely it's doing. There's also some of the chocolate covered cherry coleus that I grew from seed in here, some marigold that I grew from seed, and some firecracker vine that I grew from seed. And it's starting to twirl up these trellises that I purchased this year just for that vine. It's supposed to get huge, and I'm really hoping it does. Last year I tried growing it and it did nothing for me, but I have 6 plants at 3 in each pot, and they are doing fabulous. So I'm really happy about this. But I'll give you a close-up look. Now that the heat is out, I think these firecracker vines are just going to take off. I'm so excited. So let's see here. And here's the other one. I can see these right from my deck and patio, so I love to look over this way and see this bright pop against the shed. So now into the vegetable garden, where things have been, again, just really hit and miss this year, which I think is gardening. So, you know, you take the good with the bad, and you just appreciate the things that go really well for you and try and learn from the things that don't. So one of the things that was going really well for me at the beginning of the season, but I just noticed last night, was a real mess, which I've kind of been noticing, and I should have looked deeper a while ago, but is my cabbage. I was loving this Chinese cabbage, and I've been picking and eating it and really enjoying it. It's great for like salads and sautés and things. But last night I was like, this one is just so full of holes. What's going on? And I opened it up, and I don't know if they'll still be here because I did this last night, but it was just like a whole entire condominium of slugs. I've never seen so many slugs on a single plant in my life. We're usually a very dry climate here. I do get slugs. I do put pellets out for slugs when they become an issue, but I just didn't think about it this year. And this year was when I needed them, especially because we've had so much rain in June. I really should have been baiting for them. So this thing is just like, I've peeled off the outer leaves already. I'm just like, it's like Swiss cheese. And it's just full of slug leavings. It's just disgusting. So even though I had them under nets, obviously, I mean, the slugs don't care about netting. That's not where they are found. And oh, it's just gross. So this I'll break up and put into the compost pile. It's even a little slimy. There were so many slugs on it. So that's definitely a big fail in the garden, but I did get some out to begin with. We're picking tons of strawberries. I don't know if you can see the net kind of blowing around me here. I just have actually a frost cloth on because it was the easiest thing to throw on there. It won't hurt the strawberries. But I could see that birds were eyeing up the strawberries there a few weeks ago too, so I quickly covered those up. Should have covered the cherries up at the same time. Stepping just slightly further into the garden is my tomato bed. And again, I was very neglectful of my garden. It was so cold and rainy. I wasn't paying a lot of attention to my vegetable garden for the most part throughout June and into the beginning of July. But at some point you have to just get out there and just deal with it, right? And by that point my tomatoes were completely overgrown. So I came out the other day, I didn't even record it. It was just a big, messy, I hate working with the tomatoes. It bothers my allergies. It makes you all, I love eating them. I don't like when I have to be really digging in there, but I grow them really close together. And so as I've always stressed in my videos, I need to keep them well pruned for air circulation. I wasn't doing that, and it's been a wet year. So there was a little bit of disease starting to crop up in the center rows, but I've got them all pruned out and properly. The stakes were there, but I didn't have them tied up properly. So they're all properly tied up to the stakes now. They're looking much better. And I discovered, hey, I even have tomatoes on my plants in there. Who knew? Couldn't even see them for all the leaves in there. So the tomatoes are much happier. They're producing, and hopefully in the next week or two, I'll be eating fresh tomatoes from my garden again. It's great. And turning you just in the other direction is this bed that has squash and cantaloupe in it. And I did put a few zinnias in the front. And if you recall from my last update video, those plants were just a little tiny, still doing nothing because we had been so overcast and cold out. But we have had heat this week and they are loving it. So they've all just taken off and they're doing quite well. And my watermelon have as well. My cucumbers, not so much. They've gotten outcompeted by the potatoes in front of them. But I'll show you a quick look at the watermelon and the cucumbers, so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's the bed with the cucumbers in it. There's volunteer lilies in the back and volunteer parsnips. And then there's potatoes in the front here. But on these little trellises, these little wire trellises that are kind of hard to see, there are cucumbers. And they are just starting to do something. And they're starting to flower even, so that's exciting. But I've lost several plants. There was 3 on each of these trellises, and I think I'm down to 2 on most of them. But the thing with these vining crops, I find, is they need to be able to get a couple big leaves before they really start to put on growth, and they just weren't getting that with the weather we had. So now that they've been able to get a couple good sized leaves on, hopefully they'll take off. But I haven't even bothered to put extra string or anything on these trellises because they've been so far behind. I wasn't sure it was worth the string or my time. I think that one is down to 1, and that was a new variety, I believe, there. Oh no, this is the national pickling there, so down to 1 of those. There's a few more there, so they're coming. I'll get a few cucumbers. It won't be a bumper harvest. The lettuce has loved the weather, but it's starting to bolt, and the spinach as well. A couple squash on that trellis that are, again, just starting to get their larger leaves and come up the trellis there. And over here, a little bit hard to see, but there's watermelon in here, so we'll have a look. So these are the watermelon. I've had them most of the time since they've been planted under these little hot caps to try and keep some warmth in. But it still was pretty chilly, so they're just getting going. There's some beets that are for greens. I need to cut some of these back now that the watermelon are actually going to be able to grow, so maybe I have a chance of getting melon. But this one This is the sweet Siberian here, and it's probably the strongest. There's another one beside it that sweet Siberian's not doing quite as well. Let's see it right here. The Moon and Stars is just starting to take off. And this one's looking really weak back here. There are some sweet peas in here too, and onions. I always plant a lot really close together in my garden. Normally that works out well for me, but I don't know, this year things like the melon didn't get going as fast as I thought, so they're getting outcompeted. Same with the cucumbers. So, like I said, sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't. Down the line I have, what do I have? Scaly bark, and they're coming, but like I said, I think I need to clear out this, mosquitoes out here, clear out the beets here, and that'll give them more chance to get a little bit more, especially the morning sun. Back here's the scaly bark. So, and then again, sweet peas. But yeah, I need to have some more of these beet greens eaten out. I planted yellow custard beans right there, black turtle beans right there, and green beans right at the back there between rows of peas in this bed. I did that in a video and most of them came up well, but the green beans, I only have a couple. That was really old seeds, so I don't know if that was the issue or if something just came along that row and cleaned it out, but it doesn't look like it. So I think it's just the seed. I'm gonna have to try and throw some more in there. This is my broccoli bed. You may have seen I just did a harvest of broccoli within the last week, I think. Cauliflower's on the other side, it's coming well. There's some turnips and kohlrabi in the center of that bed. The kohlrabi's not growing great, but everything else is. There's some summer squash right in the front of this bed, so once I get a little bit of the cabbage behind it cleared out, it'll have a bit more room. But this is where I was having the severe slug issue. So you can see they're all netted up, but the slugs are in there. So I've spread pellets out. Hopefully that helps lessen the damage. Right here are the Catarina cabbage that I planted. Remember, if you saw me plant them, they don't need much space to grow and they mature quickly. So these heads are ready to go. Hopefully they're not full of slugs inside. And I'll be harvesting some pretty soon and enjoying some cabbage. Cabbage is great. You can slice it, oil, salt and pepper it, and just fry it in wedges or break it up and cook it that way in a saute. You can actually put it on the grill in nice thick wedges, just seasoned. Of course, you could make cabbage rolls. These are a little bit smaller leaves. You might not want to do cabbage rolls with those. They're great fresh as salads. I know a lot of people love to make kimchi out of cabbage. Not my thing, but if it's yours, go for it. These are a great cabbage if you have a short season or a short cool season where you need a quick turnaround on a cabbage. These Catarina are great, and they're nice and small. They're a nice size head, like, I don't know, like 2 handfuls, you know, like this. That's it. You know, so many cabbage are like this. Well, what do you do with that with a small family? Like this, that's perfect. So I love these. They're not too chewed up by the looks of things. Right next door is the Chinese cabbage, and like you can just see the slugs have just been loving these. And I don't see any slugs in them right now in this one, but man, it is chewed up. So I might have to replant these because I think that's my last one. It's looking rough. So I don't know, do I leave it to keep the slugs off the other cabbage? Or do I get it out of my garden? Is it attracting them in? Put what you think down in the comments. I haven't decided yet. Right now it's staying. The cabbage on this side of the bed is a longer day cabbage, and unfortunately some of these have also gotten hit by slugs. They're getting so big, they're getting hard to get the wrap off, but I'll bring it in closer. But this one has just been decimated with slugs. I'm trying to look at the variety name here. I can't remember. What is this? Stonehead. The one down a little bit further, it's heading up nice. Oh, it's actually quite tight for not a very big head, but it might actually almost be ready. I might be flush with cabbage right away here. but it has escaped the slugs. So I'm not sure what's making one more tasty than the other, but at least they seem to be sticking to one plant. And then there's my peppers. A giant stand of volunteer dill. There's also garlic in there. I've been eating the scapes off the garlic with kale. It's delicious. Here's my peppers and potatoes in buckets. But the peppers are doing well. I've been eating them. I've been giving them away. I don't know how well they're showing up on the camera, but there's tons of peppers on the plants. They're not sizing up like they do some years, but I think now that we're getting some heat, if I keep some water on them, they should size up. Here's a pretty nice size one back here. That's pretty good size pepper. These plants over here are a little bit smaller for whatever reason. They're a different variety. So we'll see how they do. And there's more potatoes in pots there. Peppers that I just haven't found homes for. The very last thing I think we'll look at here is over on this side. You'll note I still have my small pots of potatoes. They just haven't finished up yet, but once they do, I'll be replacing them, harvesting them, and replacing them with more potatoes. And then my sweet potatoes here are starting to vine up. The vines are taking off. A few different plants in here. So we'll see how they do. This pot and the next both have sweet potatoes growing in them. I'm not sure, I got them started late, so I'm not sure how they're gonna do. And we'll take you along for that ride when it's time to harvest them as well. Thanks for coming along with me for a little walk through the garden. We saw some things that are looking great and working out well, and some things that just really didn't go my way this year, but you know, I'm fine with that. I always like to have at least a few successes in the garden, and sometimes there's happy surprises. Sometimes there's things you think you've done all the right things and it's going to be wonderful, and it just doesn't turn out. And that's part of gardening, and that's part of what I think brings some of the joy to gardening. So thanks for coming along with me today. Click the thumbs up if you enjoy videos like this and you want to see more. Put down in the comments down below if there's something that you saw, either that I was talking about specifically, or you just saw in the background that you'd like to know more about, or that you'd like to see a video on. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.